There are two sections in your book that are where Stephen, first is like on your first date, he talks about having stomach ulcers, just weird, odd, stress-related things that wouldn't necessarily, I know for me, probably I would just be like, some people just have ulcers. I know 20-year-olds that have like, have them right now. That wouldn't alarm me. But when it got to the point where like he just really went to the hospital and had been well, what did you primarily think he was going for?
On our first date, when he told me that he had stomach ulcers, I write in the book, the reporter in me peaked, P-I-Q-U-E-D, which means that it was like, it didn't sound right then. If something doesn't sound right, it probably isn't right. If something sounds like a lie, it probably is a lie. I looked at him and said, how old are you? Stomach ulcers. And immediately, it felt wrong. But here I was, sitting in his car, being driven home, meeting on the first day, and emotions were raging. And when emotions are high like that, you ignore things that God is saying, right in front of your face, girl. Look at this. I'm showing you something. I'm listening. I want you to listen to something, and you ignore it. When he went to the hospital, what I thought he was going through was a bout of sickness of some kind. I had no idea. I never thought it was the ulcers, because ulcers do not bring about such a reaction where he had turned blue, in fact, because I knew that he wasn't getting oxygen and I didn't know why. And we had a nice vacation in Los Angeles, and I watched him get sick. So it was as if he had some sort of very bad cold that he had been ignoring. And that was all I thought. Again, not looking in the direction of HIV. Again, not even being educated to the point to know it was HIV.
So how extensive was your knowledge of HIV at the time?
At the time, my knowledge of HIV was null and void. I didn't know a thing about it. I had recently just been exposed to understanding the complexity of what AIDS was in the Black community, because I had begun to do a project with the National Black Leadership Commission on AIDS. And I was in fact working there at the time of Stephen's diagnosis. And so I was just starting to learn that this was a devastation that involved the Black community. In fact, in 1987 or 1989, on the cover of Ebony magazine with Gladys Knight on the cover, the Surgeon General back then, C. Everett Koop, made the declaration that AIDS was headed toward the Black community like a locomotive out of control. And I, like many other Black Americans at that time, saw that, said, Gladys Knight's pretty picture, flipped right to the back to the Gladys Knight story, looked at her beautiful house, never even read that article. Well, that was one of the things that the National Black Leadership Commission on AIDS used to hold up to the Black community and say, hello, 10 years ago, C. Everett Koop told us that this was headed toward our community like a locomotive out of control. Now the train has crashed and burned.